Fashitsho Tha Podcast starts now with DJ Cornbread, a.k.a. The Empress.
Jazzie Mac, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I'm blessed. I'm on the right side of the ground. Thank y'all so much for having me.
No problem. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, they call me Jazzie Mac, Mac of all trades. I am a serial entrepreneur. I started out a street hustler and kind of figured out early on in my 20s that everything is capitalism. You know what I'm saying? If you can flip a sack, then you're more than capable of creating and running a business. It's all the same things. You score, quote unquote, a product, find an audience, to consume it at a price that you can live off of. And then when you see what you make off of it, you reinvest in something else that they want. So since then, I have a tax service, a moving service. I have a clothing store. I do bounce houses. I trade stocks, amongst other things. So I love money a whole lot.
Okay. And then if you don't mind, would you mind giving us a little bit of intel into your story and what made you want to be on the show today?
Definitely. I am a domestic violence survivor. I've experienced this on multiple sides. I've been a kid watching my mom go through it, and I turned around as much as I said I never would. And as an adult, I experienced it firsthand, pretty severely. And if there's any kind of way I can contribute to, an environment where women are not allowing themselves to have this happen to them, I'd be more than happy.
Okay, so I'd like to ask, with the relationship that you did deal with, how long into the relationship was it before you were aware of changes, and what kind of red flags did they give you?
I say it was let's say this was a multi-storied relationship. I was with a guy back when I was 17, and he was a little bit older than me, and so it should have been a red flag. But of course, when you're that young, you don't pay attention. He was 21, and he was willing to bring me into that older, into that adult world. He used to supply me and my friends with alcohol, and we'd go out and drink and have a merry good time. And then, I think my first actual red flag was I had a car back then, and he liked to ride with me because I had speakers in it. And when my car broke down, he was like, "Hey, you should let me borrow those speakers." And I rode with him all the time, so that was cool with me. But once I let him get the speakers, it's like, the communication level immediately changed. It was hard to get in contact with him. He wasn't calling me back, and then he all but disappeared at a certain point. And luckily, though, I remember where he worked at, and one day I went there, and I acted kind of crazy and got my speakers back, and then we never spoke again. So flash forward some years, and then in 2021, I was 31 already. Yep, 31. And I ran into him again, and, we started dating pretty quickly. And, months down the line, he moved in. And it wasn't even, let's say about 2-3 months in. He's a pretty heavy drinker. If you'll recall, I said, even back then, he used to pull up and get us drunk. But one day, we finally left each other's sides. He went and hung out with one of his relatives. And he came home just splattered out drunk. Now, I was making sales off of his, using his Cash App because mine got shut down. And that night he pulled up and discovered that he had ran over his grill in a bout of, road rage, with somebody else. And so he came home and got in the shower. And me thinking, I'm like, okay, well, he lost his grill. I know he's going to want to get another one. Let me make sure I move my money off his Cash App because I don't want, him to go replace his stuff with my money. And so I sat there while he was showering. I made a detailed little deal that showed, what was rightfully mine, money that came in for me. And then I left what was his, which was nothing in all honesty. And I even gave him an extra, $90. And when he got out, I guess, I was right because he went to go look at his Cash App. And when he came out, he was just so drunk and outraged that he went off. I mean, I was every name but a child of God, and he's going off. Now, mind you, I have 2 kids. And so that frightened my kids because they've never experienced this. And he's cussing and threatening me and just going crazy in front of my kids. And I'm trying to explain to him, hey, calm down. I have it documented what was yours and what was mine. And he was just in such a rage that he just wouldn't hear me. He just wanted to put his hands on me. It got violent. And like I said, I saw my mom, go through a lot of domestic violence. And I wasn't having it. So in all honesty, I went in, got my gun and explained, hey, look, I'm not going to do anything to you, but you're not going to put your hands on me either. And just, that night ended with the police being called. And it's crazy because they no billed him for that nice incident, but he ended up going to the penitentiary from that arrest because he had an outstanding case from domestic violence with another female that he was with.
Oh, so this was something that was.
Yeah, he's a serial. He's a serial. He puts his hands on females.
So, was it hard for you to leave? And if it was, why?
It was very hard to leave. Generally when people are so extreme on one side of the spectrum, they're very extreme on the other side as well. So even though he was one of the worst people I met in certain fashions, he was one of the best guys that I ever met in certain fashions as well. He's a homebody. He's not one of those guys that you have to worry about cheating. And he's a very, very nice looking guy. But he made me comfortable. I always let me know that, hey, I'm not interested in any other females. It's just me and you. He's great around the house, a great stepdad. He was just a great guy to be with in every other fashion other than the fact that, he get drunk and get violent. So it's hard because they give you a level of love that you haven't experienced with anybody else. But he also brought me a level of trauma that I hadn't experienced with anybody else.
And then I wanted to go back because I know you mentioned that you witnessed this growing up as a child. Do you feel like that contributes to your relationships now?
Yeah, it definitely did. And it's crazy because I can't speak for everybody, but myself, I always tell myself because I saw how bad that got and, the lasting effects on it on both my mom and, me as her kid and the other kids. You always tell yourself, I'll never allow something like that to happen to me. But consequently, I think, maybe because I saw how extreme it was in her life and maybe, because mine wasn't as bad to me, I discounted it and okay, well, it didn't get this bad. I didn't go to a hospital. Or this didn't happen. That didn't happen. Or I don't know if maybe subconsciously I was just attracted, to him because I'd already been through those things. But I definitely say, having gone through that before, caused me in some ways to experience it on my own.
And then, like to this day, does it impact your relationships that you try to have, or are there triggers that like make you stay away from relationships or anything like that?
Most definitely, I'm very leery of opening myself back up to a relationship. Because again, he gave me some of the best feelings ever in life, but there were also some of the worst feelings and experiences ever. And yeah, I see all kind of green flags. I can't deal with a guy who's controlling. Especially, there are multiple levels of dealing with somebody. And if we hadn't, especially before we committed anything to each other, you're questioning me about who I talk to or what I wear or any type of thing that I would control for myself as a grown woman, and you're trying to exert control over that, immediate green flag. I will throw you in a dumpster so fast to get you swimming in the head.
And then, I know you mentioned that the night it got bad for you, you did have to contact the police.
Mhm.
Do you feel like the police help a lot in these situations?
Sometimes, but sometimes not, because I've heard so many people say, if it doesn't get this far, then there's nothing that we can do about it. But unfortunately, by the time it gets far enough for them to want to do something about it, by that time it's too late.
Right.
Yeah, so I saw it before a protection order, EPO, and they told me themselves that there's a long process you have to go through for them to consider whether the case is worthy of an EPO. And then even after that, then there's a little while that you have to go before it's enacted. Unless there's documentable physical fight right there on the spot with the call, then it's really hard to get them to step in.
And I know speaking with our other guest, she kind of mentioned how like his family kind of enabled what he was doing. Were you close with his family to know the same type of things? Like, did his friends and family kind of enable it or kind of like pushed under the rug when you might have brought it up or something?
Definitely his friends and the people in his family that are around his age, they often downplay it or try to find. Yeah, one of his best friends, Rashad, he called his brother. But he would every time he would try to prove a point, he'd call him and be like, "Hey, tell her this or tell her that." And I honestly, I really feel like it was so bad that you gotta know that this guy is wrong. You gotta know. But they they wouldn't tell him about himself. Now his mom, on the other hand, she doesn't even deal. You know, she talks to him every now and then, but she told me all the time, "Hey, look, you know, if you're gonna deal with that guy, then it's you. You know, I'm not gonna know when y'all get into it. He can't come back to my house or blah blah blah." So she was, you know, and I don't even know that they help because, hey, if you know this nigga's crazy, you want to help me get him away. You know, this still your kid at the end of the day. Take him back, please.
Yeah.
But definitely the people around him are aware of the type of person he was, and they were eager to co-sign and well, maybe it's you, or what did you do to contribute to the situation, knowing that this guy crazy?
Okay. And then, if anything, if there's any advice that you could give someone that may be in the same situation, what kind of advice would you give them?
Before anything, I say you gotta be in a space mentally where you love yourself so much that that nobody else can come in and paint a picture of you to you. Because what people and what abusers do a lot is before they ever physically assault you, they mentally assault you. They make you believe things about yourself that are untrue. They try to paint a picture of you know who you are, how you act, and put a lot of the blame for their actions on you. Well, I only did this because you did this, or why are you like this, or you know that it's a lot more mental abuse than it is physical. And that unfortunately is the part that leaves the deepest impression on you.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to thank you for sharing your story today and coming out and being a part of our podcast and helping us raise awareness to domestic violence today.
I appreciate y'all having me. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Hey, man, it's BH the Plug. I'm the big man. This is the largest Fashitsho Tha Podcast. Say I'm the biggest.